Hey guys, a little bit different this week. I am rolling solo right now. Who knows? I might not even release this episode of the podcast. For those of you who don't know my voice by now, this is John Thorne. I'm recording this because we're just a few days away from JLIT. And I'm feeling a real certain kind of weird way about it lately. I really don't know why. It's usually JLIT weekend is usually, it's what a lot of the people that have been, long time AIW wrestlers or staff or whatever. It's what a lot of us look forward to all year long, honestly. And, I just have been kind of in like a funk about it for, I don't know, whatever reason. And, I've just been trying to figure it out. And I decided to just start talking into this microphone and see if, I could get to the bottom of that, I guess. I don't know. This podcast is kind of, it's like seeing a therapist but you get no feedback. It's a way to, I guess, get stuff out or whatever. I've this weird thing to where I can just like compartmentalize things and they just kind of disappear for a long time. And I just go on and that's just how I do it. But I just been feeling really weird about this whole JLIT weekend and this whole I don't know, something just doesn't feel exciting to me about it. And, I just honestly think, it's probably, last year it was just getting through things, because Chandler was in the hospital and, I really didn't think that was going to turn out, the way it eventually did. I always thought that, he was going to, pull through and everything was going to be fine. So, this year it's just kind of, I don't know. It's just a weird feeling heading into this weekend. And it's not only, the JT Lightning Invitational Tournament, but now, the Chandler Biggins Memorial Tag Team Tournament. And that just has me feeling really, really weird, honestly, because I don't know if it's because I was in the hospital myself recently or what, but it's really weird to sit and realize, that these people are gone, and that is final. We started doing the JT Lightning Invitational Tournament. I know Chandler told the story, I believe, on a really early episode of the podcast, but when JT got sick, he had sent us a text the day of one of our shows. And I know if I got a hold of Chandler's phone, which his mom still has, I know Chandler saved the text message because he never got a new phone ever anyway. But, he had the text message saved, and JT had texted us and he said, he basically said, Cleveland's all yours. I'm proud of you guys. And he's like, make sure nobody ever forgets me. And he died very soon after he sent that text message. I'm pretty sure that he knew he was going to die. And the fact that, I don't know, the fact that he sent us text messages was, that was that meant something to both of us. And that's why we decided to, do this weekend in his honor, because I really don't think people, like, death happens and so many people just it's I don't want to say it's forgotten, but people just keep on moving, and that's him saying please make sure nobody ever forgets me. That was weird for me and Chandler both. That was kind of this thing that bothered us, because we're like, we have to figure out something to do to make sure nobody ever forgets this guy, because JT Lightning was it. It's so weird now, because it's almost like when you get involved in wrestling, it's like you never really. It's like they say, that you stay that age forever or what, and it's so weird that wrestling has moved so. It's continued to move so much faster and evolved and changed so much, but it also feels like yesterday that I was a 15-year-old kid going to watch JT Lightning wrestle. So it's this weird thing. That it's almost like it's becoming this forgotten era of guys like JT and what he did, and I really do feel, and this may sound bad, but I do feel, I don't want to say people would have forgotten about JT Lightning, but I feel like so many more people are aware of JT Lightning outside of the Cleveland area, because we do this tournament, and he's become almost like the symbol of this tournament, and his photo is on everything, and as good as that makes me feel, it's also kind of weird that so many people just don't know a lot about him. And I just started thinking, like, I'm kind of in the middle of these two eras of this like forgotten era of like Cleveland All Pro and JT. There's so few of us that are still involved in wrestling that were around for all of that. And, it's weird to think about how many years now it has been since JT Lightning passed away, because it does not feel like it's been that long. And on top of that, now this year, with Chandler also being gone, I'm just in this weird position to where it's like you look at these shows, and they have such a greater meaning to certain people than just some wrestling shows. And I look at them, and it's two people that were, gigantic parts of my life for such a long time. And, it makes me feel good to help them be remembered, but it also is a lot of it's like pressure that's inexplainable, I guess. Like, I feel like this pressure now, because it is just me, and there always forever there was always a JT Lightning, and after that there was always a Chandler Biggins, and now there's just basically there's just a John Thorne, and that is a weird realization that I've had, I guess, recently, and I don't know, I don't know how I feel about it, honestly, because after Chandler died, I felt this need to make AIW successful, because that's what that's what we both wanted. But sometimes I think even he wanted it more than I wanted it, and it's a weird thing now, because when I would get down, he would talk me up, and when he would get down, I would talk him up. And now it's kind of like it's almost like this. I don't want to say like it's like I'm lost, because I am like totally dialed in on everything, but it's just this weird void that is just missing because, there was these two people that were always around me in my wrestling life. And now, this weekend I'm promoting shows that in their memory so people will remember them. And it's just so, it's so weird for me to sit and think about what, what this weekend really coming up means as a whole. It's not just 2 days of wrestling shows. This is making sure people remember who these two guys are because they were so influential in, Cleveland independent wrestling. And I just don't think, I think there's all these newer fans and, even fans that just listen to this podcast that don't even, know that much about Cleveland wrestling or anything, and have really no idea what these guys contributed. It's kind of crazy because there's this big, I guess, misconception that like amongst like a lot of people that like, oh, it's just independent wrestling, like you don't live off of it, so it doesn't matter. You don't make all this money off of it, so it's just like a waste of time, or it's just like a hobby. Like it's not just a hobby. It wasn't, and it certainly wasn't a hobby for JT Lightning, and it certainly wasn't just a hobby for Chandler Biggins. It was, it was our lives, and it was definitely their lives. And yeah, they have real jobs, of course. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you got to have a job to support the wrestling addiction. Like it's almost, it honestly is like the closest thing that to like some sort of addiction that I think I've ever had. And it's because like you're creating something, and it's just, I feel like, it's, some people just like look down on it. Like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's just doing a wrestling show once a month. But people don't realize like the amount of pressure to succeed that wrestling promoters have, and how much time that you have to put into it, and especially these two guys who these shows are about this weekend. They gave everything to independent wrestling, and to some people that sounds like the most ridiculous statement that they've ever heard. But honestly, like for our small little corner of the world in Cleveland, Ohio, that I don't even know, it's not on the map or whatever, like a PWG or some other big independent company. But to us, Cleveland wrestling was our entire world. And it's just so, I guess, strange to think like there's this era of fans that never have no idea who JT Lightning was as a wrestler or a person, or what his wrestling promotion was like, but they know who JT Lightning is. And for that, I think I am doing his last wishes proud and making sure people knew who he was to an extent. But the weirder part of it for me is Saturday afternoon, which is the Chandler Biggins Memorial Tag Team Tournament. Like for me, that's just a strange thing to, and I know I keep saying strange a lot in this, but I don't know how else to describe it. It's just, it's, when Chandler was sick, and, as bad as things were, I always had this kind of like, I guess the thought in the back of my head is, he's 34 years old. He's going to be fine. And then when he wasn't and he passed away, it was like dialed in, zeroed in, like, got to make Absolution great. Got to, figure out the rest of what's going to happen. Like, and it was like a whirlwind of like just diving into just diving into AIW and getting it on track and making sure things get in the right direction, and let's book these shows and let's focus and let's do all this stuff. And I never really like got around to the total acceptance of like he is never coming back again. And it's just it's weird to think, in a few days I'm going to be doing a show so people remember him in the same way that we do the JT Lightning Invitational Tournament, so people remember JT. And like I said, I've just been feeling really just strange about all this. And when I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, about a month ago, there was a time where, I really did think that I was going to die. And honestly, a real part of that is because JT and Chandler both died so young. And it was like, I thought that there was like this weird Cleveland wrestling promoter's curse. And I just, I remember that there was like a point where I just accepted, that I'm not leaving this hospital because those guys didn't, those guys didn't, beat the things that were wrong with them. And, there was times where, the doctors were saying like they didn't know what was going to happen with me. And I came to like the realization that, I really did in the back of my head just think that no matter what positive news that they told me, that I was never going to leave that hospital. And when I did, I kind of felt like guilt, or like, I don't know, like I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if it was guilt, but it was just this kind of like self, like loathing, like, why do I get to leave and they didn't? And, like, I guess you have those thoughts of like, why couldn't it be me? And, they are back, and you go through all these different scenarios, and maybe a lot of that was because like what was looking me in the face is, that when I got out, I needed to focus on promoting these shows. And it was like, just been a weird month for me, like recovering and also promoting these shows that are to remember two of my friends. And that's, I know like what I'm doing is good, and it's, what they wanted. It just puts a lot of pressure on me to succeed, because I don't have any of these people to lean on anymore. I think I finally have realized that, going into this week, because, and there's people that help and stuff, but it's just not the same as the me and Chandler dynamic. And, I'm kind of accepting that, this week, but it's making me feel like, honestly, like, is positive. And, I know people are there's going to be a lot of positive energy in the building, over the next, over those 2 days. But, it's almost like going to the funeral all over again for Chandler for me, because this is what makes it real for me, and that's why I didn't want to have a memorial show for him. I think because I think at this point it's real, and that may sound crazy because I was at his funeral and I was a pallbearer and all that stuff, but I think that's probably why I'm feeling so weird is, this weekend makes it real. And people had asked me, well, are you going to do a big show for him, like right after he passed away? And I didn't want to do that, because, it's just, that's it. And, I think, subconsciously or whatever, when I decided that I wanted to, make the weekend about both of them, I think I kind of was setting myself up for finally having that closure or whatever it is, and, making it real. So, yeah, I'm just feeling very weird heading into this weekend. And, I didn't really know why I started recording this podcast, especially alone, but I hope it's not too weird or boring. But it's just I really want all three shows to be very successful. Ticket sales aren't the best, and this isn't about this. I didn't record this as like a, hey, please buy tickets. But, maybe that's also contributing to my weirdness, because it just makes me, every year we've run the JT Lightning Invitational Tournament, we've lost money, but it's kind of like we never really cared that much, because it was about, it's about people remembering JT Lightning. And now, it's also about people remembering Chandler Biggins. So I'm not going to say I don't care about money, but it's not what it's about. I just want people to be there. Their families usually come, JT's kids are at almost every show. His wife has come to many of them, a lot of JT's old friends and people he's trained over the years. And, I think what a lot of you AIW fans don't realize is it makes, like, seeing all of you there in remembrance makes the people that actually did know JT or, did know Chandler on a personal level, like it makes them feel good in a way. And I don't really know how to explain that. It just does. So, I'm hoping that we get, we sell these shows out, and there's a lot of positive energy going this weekend, because these aren't just shows for the people that knew these two guys. And I know that there's a lot more fans coming now that weren't going to Cleveland All Pro shows and never got the chance to see JT Lightning. But for the people that did, and the people that did know him, seeing the positivity and the just electric atmosphere in, people chanting his name and stuff like that, that's a really powerful thing that I don't think you fans truly understand how it affects those people. And also on Saturday afternoon, Chandler's mom has been coming a lot because, to all the shows, and, it's something that she needs to, it's just, this is a weird podcast, guys. I'm not going to lie, but, it's just, it's one of those weird weeks for me heading into this. And I wish you guys could can understand just how strange it is for me to be in this weird position that I am now, to where it's just like there's no more JT, there's no Chandler, and it's like that's odd for me, you know. And I've been keeping myself so busy that I've not taken the time to really let the Chandler stuff sink in as much as it probably is. Not as much, but I guess sooner than it should have. And it's kind of really starting to hit me a little bit this week, like I said, because, you know, I look at these flyers that I have, and, you know, it's just his picture with the Memorial Tag Team Tournament logo on it, and it's just, man, this is a situation that I never thought that I would ever be in. And, you know, I thought if there was, I thought that there would be no more AIW before there would be no more me or Chandler Biggins. And, I know it's been, you know, we've been doing shows for almost a year since he passed away, but it's really kind of setting in, heading into this weekend. And, you know, JLIT weekend last year was like the last time he ever texted me, and he sent me a text that made absolutely no sense about something about a cactus. But, yeah, it's weird to think that would be like our last correspondence ever was a JLIT weekend last year. So, yeah, it's, yeah. And, I don't really know, you know, it's just a very weird situation for me to be in, especially, you know, it's also like, I also feel kind of odd for missing the last show. It's just, I shouldn't, like, I own the company, I run the company, like, but, it's like, you know, I'm gonna get the, like, because I've been getting it for a month, like the how are you feeling, and what happened, and, you know, it's like I have like all these zillion things going through my mind, and a lot of it is, you know, these shows are about making sure people remember JT Lightning and Chandler Biggins, but it's also like me remembering JT Lightning and Chandler Biggins, and you know, that's some good and some bad comes with that. So yeah, man, I don't know. It's a weird, kind of weird week for me. And I just, I hope everything turns out all right. It's strange. And I've said strange, take a drink every time I said strange on this podcast, but, it is just an odd feeling for me, this week. And, I hope you guys appreciate the candid, solo podcasts, that I'm just sitting here giving you right now. And hopefully it doesn't make anybody feel that uncomfortable, but it's going to be an interesting week for me, and a lot of people. Like I said, you know, there's, this weekend is special for some people more than it just being a wrestling show. And, I hope people really grasp what it means. You know, it's not just the JLIT, it's the JT Lightning Invitational Tournament. It's not just an abbreviation. It's, it's about JT Lightning, who, I don't think there would be independent wrestling in Cleveland or the groundwork for independent wrestling, without him. This guy, in a very, very similar fashion, to AIW, started a wrestling promotion, and he had his ups and downs, and he brought in a ton of guys that turned out to be gigantic superstars in wrestling, and tried different things and experimented, and ran for 15 plus years. I can't off the top of my head think of the exact number of years that Cleveland All Pro was around, but that's a long amount of time. And JT probably ran far more shows than AIW did. That's because I remember there was times where there were Cleveland All Pro shows on a Friday, and then 20 minutes away on Saturday he would have another show. And it's a lot of that. It's a shame that a lot of that video footage is gone, doesn't exist, because JT in Cleveland All Pro, a lot of the early stuff especially was existing in a time when independent wrestling was not a commodity like it turned out to be and has become. At that time it was about putting wrestling on a flyer and trying to just get people inside a venue. There was no money in video or any of that. If JT had a VHS tape of the show, cool, but that was the only person that really had it. And a lot of that footage is gone. JT was gonna give us everything that he had, and so we could preserve it and get it out to the world eventually, because he did all this stuff. He booked Edge before he was anybody, and Christian, and he had CM Punk tons of times, and all kinds of guys. There's countless gigantic wrestling names that came through Cleveland All Pro, and of course, the week he was going to give us all these boxes of tapes and stuff that he just had sitting around in his basement. His basement flooded and everything was ruined. And that's unfortunate, honestly, because especially now with all things like Powerbomb TV and streaming services, his content would be invaluable for a service like that. But that's if you don't know a lot about JT Lightning, I don't even know honestly where to begin. But he impacted a lot of people's lives, especially in the Cleveland wrestling business. And there's not a lot of us left anymore that kind of bridge the gap between these two eras of wrestling. But for the people that did know him, it was he was a polarizing figure for sure. And everyone had their ups with JT and everyone had their downs with JT. And I certainly did as well, and everybody did. But at the end of the day, the people that love wrestling gravitate to the people that love wrestling, and no matter how many times JT would get mad at me or I would get mad at JT, we would always wind up friends again and joking and like nothing ever happened. It was a weird relationship, but honestly, it was kind of like he was like a father figure to so many people, and myself included. And like I said, without him, there's no wrestling around here at all, probably, honestly. He said he did so much to just lay the groundwork for anyone to even know they could come and wrestle in Cleveland. And from him to I would say probably more people that listen to this podcast are far more aware of Chandler Biggins, and I don't really need to run down everything that he did, but these guys were, honestly, they were like pillars of Cleveland independent wrestling. And I could only hope to be as finally remembered as they are. And maybe that's also like a weird thing, because I was kind of nowhere near facing it the way they faced it. But like when you're in the hospital for 13 days, and like I said, like I was pretty convinced that like my fate was sealed. You really think about a lot of stuff like that, and how will you be remembered? And for me, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of why I'm happy that this podcast exists, and there is there's a large archive with Chandler Biggins, and anyone that is missing Chandler Biggins, they can just go back and they can listen to some funny stories, and those will live for however long the hosting exists on the internet. And I think that's great. I personally have not gone back and listened, because I just don't know if I'm ready for something like that. But for I'm just glad that it's there, and glad knowing that it's there, and glad knowing that there's lots of stuff out there that's far more content out there to remember Chandler Biggins than there was when JT was around. And that's that part is unfortunate. Like, I wish there was a podcast with JT Lightning, because there's so much stuff that about him that I've even forgotten. And it's just different times, and it's really unfortunate. But it is also fortunate that there is so much stuff out there with Chandler that you guys can go out and remember him by. And yeah, all I'm hoping for is I'm hoping a lot of people come out this weekend, and a lot of people just appreciate and remember what it's about. And it's not just a couple wrestling shows to a lot of guys. It's fewer than us than before, but especially guys like myself and Pedro, and Joe Norris, and Matt Wadsworth, and Matt Justice, and guys that experienced JT Lightning and experienced Chandler Biggins, and and even guys like the Duke, guys that were around and can remember all these different things. It's a far more important weekend, I think, to guys like us that I just mentioned, and I'm sure I forgot some names, and I apologize if I forgot, but it's this weekend is special to a lot of people, and I just hope that the fans understand that it's not just like it's just another show, like I don't have to go to that one. Like this is far more than just a couple wrestling shows for people, and it's really about remembering these guys, honestly. And yeah, like it's like for them, who knows if there's an afterlife or any of that, or they're looking down, or everyone can speculate on that. But just for them, wherever they are, like for them to just like for people to come out and support not only the guys on the show, but it's really about remembering them. And I don't know, something about that makes me feel good, and also it makes me feel weird realizing the reality of these guys are really gone forever. And but this weekend is all about remembering those guys, and I hope this wasn't too much of a bummer for people listening. And yeah, I can't believe I just talked for like 40 straight minutes, but please come out this weekend. If you can only make one show, make one show. If you can make all three, make all three. You know, whatever. I just hope that, you know, at some point, the majority of the AIW fans that have been coming and packing these shows come again this weekend, and we continue to, you know, just keep things rolling in a positive direction. And yeah, I know we joked about it earlier this year, and you know, the year of positivity, but I'm really just, I really just want this to be successful, honestly, because it's just like, it's not about the bottom line or anything. Like, it's just like, for my two friends that are, you know, gone, I want it to be successful for them, like, for whatever that means. I don't know, but yeah, that's just, I think, what's been weighing on me so much, and that's why I decided to record this weird podcast. So I'm gonna throw it to Worldwide, and we're gonna close with the thrift store jobber ad for this week. And I hope to see you guys Friday or Saturday. All right. Thanks for listening.
My name is Abdullah the Butcher.
What's up, everybody? Alex Worldwide Keller here to tell you all about at Thrift Store Jobber, Instagram, Etsy, eBay, etc. And hold up, hey, thriftstorejobber.bigcartel.com. That's a thing now. You can go there, check out his wares, and he's got one for you this week. It's a size large t-shirt straight out of Nippon. That's Japan. And it's Abdullah the Butcher, the Black Wizard. The shirt's words, not mine. Looks like a Ralph Bakshi image. It's this cartoon image of the boy with a fork and a taped up fist and a cigar in that mouth, and it makes me want to shriek, but I can't because we're in Thorne's apartment. But check all that out and more at Thrift Store Jobber, Instagram, Etsy, eBay, etc. And now BigCartel.com.
Get up so I can kick you. I can put you back down again.